Hello everyone, how's it going? Now in this video, I will be speaking about what I see a lot in coaching calls and also what I was like when I first came in with my coaching calls with Rob back in 2019. Now, I was very locked up. I was very internalized. I was so caught up in my head at all times because I was constantly trying to work things out. I was fixated on what I was scared of. I was so consumed by the fear, I couldn't sort of see outside of that fear. Okay, so even when somebody was trying to explain rational thinking, unconditional acceptance, how OCD was operating, all the things we get into in coaching calls, the best ways to go forward with exposures, the best ways to confront the fear, how we can view it differently, I was so locked up. I was so in my head, if you wish. I was so just trapped in an internal state because I was like, well, no, yeah, I can understand what you're saying, but I'm just so locked up. And over time, you'll start seeing that. Okay, you'll start seeing that unlatching and releasing, and that's what will happen once you put in belief work. Because I couldn't see, and if Rob says about this today, he couldn't see how I would make any progress because I was so fixated on is it real or not, and convinced and actually consumed by the realness factor, I couldn't see the rational alternative. I couldn't even try to look at a different outlook. I couldn't see a different philosophy because I was so caught up in that self-punishing, undeserving cycle. I was the worst person on this planet. I couldn't see any other way of viewing it. And that's how it feels. So I totally get that. I know how that feels. I've got many people come into me and it's just from within seconds, I can tell they're locked up in their head. Okay. And that's how the disorder works. There's no shame in that, okay? But what we're going to do on these calls, we're going to start breaking that down so you can start releasing from that. You can start living life on your terms. That starts backing down. That starts unlatching. Okay, once we see that the fear is an illusion, once we see that chasing certainty is an illusion, and taking risks, and breaking down the core fears, and acceptance is an agreement, but going towards unconditional acceptance, okay, even if the worst case was real, okay, how we can start doing exposures to confront the fear, how we can start doing shame attacks to break down the shame element of things, okay? So as you keep coming in for calls and as you keep being persistent and consistently putting in the work, you're going to start feeling a lot less internalized. You're going to start feeling a lot less locked up. You start feeling freer. Mental freedom starts coming back with time, okay? Where you start unleashing from the OCD shackles, if you wish, because you're trapped right now in a mental prison. Okay, I know how that feels, where everywhere you turn, it feels like you're in an inescapable maze. It feels like whatever I do, that avenue's blocked, that route is blocked, that path is blocked. Okay, and that's how it feels, because everywhere you look, you're so caught up on the realness, the emotions are through the roof, the anxiety is very high, so it's going to feel very difficult to see hope. It's going to feel difficult to cling on to that hope, because everywhere you turn, everything that you seem to do seems to be hindered by something, whether that's the realness, whether that's by the thing in the past that OCD's finding evidence gone, nope, there's the proof you've done this thing in the past, you will never get out of this state, and that's how it feels, hence why OCD sufferers tend to feel very, very hopeless, okay? Because on my journey, even when I started to see, and I was reading the books and having regular coaching calls, I could see the rational alternative. I really could. I could see how unconditional acceptance would really work for me. But every time I tried to apply it, it felt like something was just blocked in my mind. And that's what held me back for so long, because I wanted to feel a certain way to start seeing that the work was working, but also I wanted to feel motivated to put in the work. I thought, well, I want to 100% know it's going to work. Otherwise, what's the point? And then I go back down the work and out cycle. Okay, I spent years and years and years trying to figure it out. Ages trying to figure out, shit, what does that thought mean? Oh my God, where did that thought come in then? What does that mean? Oh my God, if this thing happened in the past, what does that mean about me? I am undeserving of any joy. I can't be let off the hook ever. I don't deserve a minute's peace ever. Okay, and because I held those very rigid, irrational beliefs, I was in that self-torturous cycle, that self-punishing cycle all the time. Okay, so I had to try and see a different rational outlook, even when every ounce of my body was saying, no, this isn't going to work. No, you're the worst person ever. No, this is real. No, you're the exception. You're treatment resistant. Yours is different. Yours is not like them. Yours is real. Nothing matters. Recovery won't work for you. I had to keep acting against those urges, even literally, I'd be reading the book, right? When I had the urge just to put the book down, this isn't going to work for me. Because even just from page one, I go, right, okay, let's start with this. And I just have a huge urge just to put the book down because it was like, well, what's the point? It's not going to work. And many times I just thought, fuck it, not going to work. And back down the working out cycle, okay? So we have to start going down a different avenue, because think what's been keeping you stuck for so long, doing the same thing, having the same input each time, not changing anything, isn't going to bring different results. I had to ask myself this. I thought, okay, Sam, well, I keep trying to work it out, but where has that got me so far? It's got me nowhere. If anywhere, it's got me worse. It's got me down a rabbit hole, which now I'm finding it very difficult to get out of, because I'm so far down this rabbit hole of working it out, it actually brings more questions than answers, right? Because it will convince you each time, just work it out again, find that missing piece of the puzzle, go on, just keep going, keep working out, and then you're trapped in, and it feels like you can't win, right? And that's how it feels, because everywhere you turn, you're going to feel trapped, you're going to feel locked in. You are not trapped. You are not locked in. Your brain isn't broken. All that's happening here is OCD and how it operates, and the disorder, and it's a very difficult disorder, it's a very relentless disorder, and there's no reason it's ranked in the top 10 by the WHO, the World Health Organization, with how severe it is, how difficult it is, because it's a very stubborn, challenging, relentless disorder, okay? But remember, you are suffering with that. That does not mean you're then doomed for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean there is no way out. It doesn't mean that you can't ever get better, okay? All it means is that it's latching to what you fear, hence why we do belief work, hence why we break down the core fears, hence why we start looking towards the worst case scenario. Then OCD takes a step back, okay? We can't just say, hey, you, stop ruminating, get on with your life. It doesn't work, because anyone telling you to stop ruminating, anyone telling you just to calm down, don't try and work it out, don't try and figure it out. Yes, we need to not try and work it out, but it's automatic because the fear's still very high. Okay, so what we do on calls, we look at, why is that fear so high? How can we view that fear differently? How can we still accept ourselves if the worst case was true, or strongly condemning something, regretting something, not excusing anything, but how can you still accept yourself as you? And then OCD starts taking a seat back. It starts going in the back seat, because look why you're triggered. Look why you're suffering. Look why you feel so locked up. It's because you're trying to work something out. You're so internalized because there is something in your mind that you just cannot simply accept. It goes past the mental barrier of acceptingness. That's a word, okay? So in your brain, you've got, well, if I've done that, then I can't accept that. Therefore, I've got to work that out. I've got to find evidence as to why I just wouldn't possibly do that. And then if I cross that line, then that's a step too far, so I've got to try and work out and find evidence as to why I wouldn't ever cross that line, or why I never have crossed that line. You know, it leads you down a rabbit hole to nowhere, okay? And that's how the journey feels. So what we have to start doing is, okay, looking at how you're inventing this imaginary barrier, how you're beating yourself up with the undeserving cycle, how you're in that self-downing, that life-downing, that other-downing cycle, which is just fueling the emotional reaction, okay? So if you do feel internally locked up, know that there is hope. There is plenty of hope. I've been in your shoes. I know how that feels. It feels so internalized. It feels, you're so clenched up. I put my shoulders up because that's how it feels. It's like everything that I did. I remember I had stiff necks a lot. I just felt my body aches and body pains because of anxiety and guilt, because I was so locked up. I had no freedom. I had no sort of space to move. That's how it felt, because I was so caught up in that. You tell me you need to work this out, and I couldn't win, because even if I got some illusion of certainty of working something out, boom, switched up within seconds and found something else. Okay, so I know how that feels. It's not a nice feeling. It's like you're trying to outrun your brain. You won't be able to do that. Even when I tried to distract myself, it's just like, nope, you've done this thing in the past. Nope, you had this intrusive thought. Nope, if your worst fears come true, you're the worst person ever. Nope, if that happens, you won't be able to cope. Nope, that's just beyond the acceptable thing in your head. That means you're doomed to punish forever. Also, you're going to be punished forever internally. You're doomed to suffer forever, and that's how it feels. Okay? So we know how that feels. If you're interested in one-to-one calls, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. I'm Sam, you've got Rob, you've got Nick, you've got Mom, and you've got Gemma. You can also help with calls. So email Phil, get booked in as soon as possible, because then to start releasing from that locked in feeling, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time, patience, persistence, and consistency. You're not going to suddenly feel free, but you start seeing that it's all an illusion. The reason you feel so tense and so on edge and so locked up is because there is something there that you are just rejecting, you are pushing away, that you're resisting. Okay, so over time, as you start going towards the acceptance of that and start seeing it for what it is, the fear, that it's nowhere near as the catastrophe that you're making out, and how you could be at peace with that, then you start feeling a lot less internalized and locked up. But that takes time.